start again. Good evening, students. So yesterday I explained the structure of the pollen grain, and then I explained the development of the male gametophyte. So in development of the male gametophyte, how the microspore mature into a pollen grain, that we discussed, stages of microspore maturation into pollen grain, that we have discussed. Now you know that in 60% of the angiosperms, when the pollen grain is pollinated onto the stigma of the flowering plant, okay, it will be in two-cell stage. When this pollen grain is pollinated onto the stigma, two-celled pollen grain, further development occur on the stigma only. Two-celled pollen grain has to become three-celled pollen grain. Three-celled pollen grain is known as mature male gametophyte. Usually two-celled pollen grain is known as partially developed male gametophyte. So now this is the pollen grain which is in two-cell stage. This pollen grain will expand in its side by absorbing the liquid provided by the stigma. The liquid provided by the stigma that result in expansion of the pollen grain. Now, the pollen grain will receive certain chemical substances. This stigma is going to provide those chemical substances. So stigma will provide boron, sugar, amino acids. These chemical substances will help in the germination of the pollen grain. Pollen grain will germinate now. So pollen grain will germinate. When the pollen grain germinates, it is going to produce pollen tube. Pollen tube. This is the pollen tube. You know that pollen tube is formed by intine. Intine layer will produce the pollen tube. The intine layer covering around the vegetative cell is going to produce pollen tube. First time pollen tube was discovered by G.B. Amici in Portulaca. In plant by name Portulaca, G.B. Amici discovered this pollen tube. So for the pollen germination, these chemical substances play very important role. Because of that, this pollen grain will germinate. Intine will form the pollen tube. this is the pollen tube. As we know that pollen grain has a larger vegetative cell and a smaller what you call generative cell. Generative cell is spindle shape, and this is the generative nucleus. What you have? Generative nucleus. Now generative nucleus divide mitotically. Generative nucleus divide mitotically. So when the generative cell divide mitotically, it is going to produce two male gametes. The division, mitotic division of the generative nucleus present in the generative cell result in the formation of two male gametes. Now, the first nucleus which will descend at the tip of the pollen tube, that is mainly the vegetative nucleus or tube nucleus will be there. This is vegetative nucleus or what you call it, tube nucleus, whatever you call. The cytoplasmic content of the pollen grain will move towards the tip of this. So here dense cytoplasm will be there. Dense cytoplasm. Then the two male gametes which have been formed due to the mitotic division of the generative nucleus, these two male gametes will be descended into the pollen tube. So these are the two male gametes. Vegetative nucleus disintegrates soon. The two male gamete will take part in fertilization process. So here these two male gametes they are non-motile. They are non-motile. They are carried by pollen tube. They are carried by pollen tube. Okay, the sexual reproduction where male gametes are transferred through the pollen tube, I have given the term sphenogamy. These male gametes are non-motile, lenticular or spherical shape. They are non-motile, lenticular or spherical shape. They have thin layer of cytoplasm and large nucleus. So these are the two male gametes which are non-motile. They are lenticular or spherical shape. They have thin layer of cytoplasm in the male gamete, thin layer of cytoplasm and a large nucleus. So these male gametes are following the vegetative nucleus. Vegetative nucleus soon disintegrate. So here you may have the vacuole, and in the pollen tube there is a formation of callose plugging. So there is a formation of callose plugging so that these male gametes should not go back. the male gametes should descend towards what you call the tip of the pollen tube. See, once the vegetative nucleus disintegrate, then to the tip these two male gametes will reach there. Then this pollen tube, here there will be ovule, okay, containing a female gametophyte, that is the embryo sac. This is the egg. So this male gamete will come and later on will take part in fertilization process. So this growth of the pollen tube is due to the chemical substances provided by the stigma. That remember, boron, sugar, amino acids, okay, and there will be pollen pistil interaction, pollen grain and the stigma, the pistil stigma, they will recognize each other due to the chemical dialogue between them. Then stigma will provide the fluid that help in expansion of the pollen grain, and it provides these chemotropic substances. The movement of the pollen tube or pollen tube growth is due to the chemicals. These are the chemicals. Okay, so this pollen tube will grow in length and finally it can reach the ovule. There, then it take part in fertilization process. So remember, a chemotrophic agent which is responsible for pollen tube growth, elongation of the pollen tube, chemotrophic agent. Boron, calcium, inositol, sugar complex. This is chemotrophic substance that is provided by the stigma, even part of the style, to the pollen grain, so that pollen grain can germinate and form the pollen tube. Now, if one pollen tube is there, see, pollen tube can come out, okay, through the germ pore. Germ pore is meant for emergence of the pollen tube. Pollen tube is formed from intine. Okay, on the exine layer you have germ pore, that spherical area or that elongated area. Spherical area you call it as germ pore. If elongated area you call it as germinal furrow. This I have told yesterday, right? So through the germ pore where sporopollenin is absent, through that this pollen grain will come out. If this pollen tube will come out. If one pollen tube is there, then we call it as monosyphinous. If one pollen tube is there, it is called as monosyphinous. In some cases, if many pollen tubes arise, more than one pollen tube arise from the pollen grain on its germination, this you call it a polysyphinous condition. We call it a polysyphinous condition. This you can see an example. Cucurbitaceae member, Malvaceae member. This is cucumber family, cucumber, gourd family, watermelon, muskmelon, cucumber family, and Malvaceae is hibiscus family, that is cotton family. So in them, a single pollen grain can produce more than one pollen tube. Some cases that we call it a polysyphinous. See, we have longest pollen tube. We have longest pollen tube in an example maize. Remember this point. longest pollen tube is there in males. Keep it in mind. So this is about the development of the male gametophyte. Suppose if the pollen grain is pollinated in 2-cell stage, okay, further development into 3-cell stage occur on the stigma. Stigma provides certain chemotrophic substances so that this pollen grain germinate and produce the pollen tube, and the male gametes will be carried through the pollen tube. Suppose 40% of the angiosperms are flowering plants where the pollen grains are shed in 3-cell stage. If it is already in 3-cell stage, further development of the pollen grain is not required. So from the beginning, the pollen grain can be 3-cell stage. So in that case, this pollen grain germinate and produce the pollen tube, and the tip of the pollen tube is carried by the vegetative nucleus, and it is followed by the 2 male gametes. Okay, so this is about the development of the male gametophyte. Try to remember. So remember, boron, calcium, inositol sugar complex help in the germination of the pollen grain to form the pollen tube. So pollen tube grows in length in response to the chemical substance. That kind of movement, say growth response due to chemical substance, that is called chemotrophic movement. So pollen tube growth is chemotrophic. Pollen tube movement growth is chemotrophic, that is response of growth towards the chemical substance provided by the stigma and stalk. Okay, and where the growth occurs in this region will elongate, so it is apical. The growth of the pollen tube is chemotrophic and it is apical in nature. Remember. Now, this is the pollen mother cell, which is diploid. It is a microspore mother cell which is diploid. We will recall now. This, when it carry out meiosis, it is going to produce 4 pollen grains. Initially, pollen tetrad will be there. Pollen tetrad, individual pollen grains will get separated due to the dissolution of the callose wall, which is holding the pollen grains. Okay, so we are going to get four haploid pollen grains. Okay, so these are the 4 haploid pollen grains. Now see here, this pollen grain, I am talking about single pollen grain, to form male gametes. So this is the pollen grain. Okay, so this is the pollen grain. To form 2 male gametes, as we know that there are 2 male gametes produced by 1 pollen grain. So to form 2 male gametes, it has to undergo 2 times mitosis. Keep it in mind, 2 times. See here, 2 mitotic division are required here. This is the pollen grain. Okay, The protoplast of the pollen grain divide unequally. I told yesterday during the development of the male gametophyte, I told there is formation of asymmetric spindle in the cell due to unequal division of the protoplast. So first mitotic division, which is unequal division, result in the formation of a larger vegetative cell and a smaller spindle shaped, what we call it, generative cell. This is first mitotic division. Okay, now how many cells are there? 2 cells are there. So it is a 2 cell stage, partially developed male gametophyte. Now second mitotic division. Second mitotic division. So in the second mitotic division, what happens now? This is vegetative nucleus. This generative nucleus which is there, divide mitotically, and it is going to form 2 male gametes. 2 male gametes. So for the formation of 2 male gametes from a microspore mother cell or pollen mother cell, you need 1 meiosis. You need 1 meiosis. And how many mitotic division? 2 mitotic division you need. 2 mitotic division or mitosis. How many pollen grains are there? 4 are there. Usually all the 4 pollen grains or microspores are functional. I have given yesterday one example. The members of the family Cyperaceae. In the members of the family Cyperaceae, I told, out of the 4 microspores produced from one pollen mother cell, 3 will degenerate and 1 will be functional, I told. So one microspore mother cell will produce 1 functional microspore in the family Cyperaceae. Normally speaking, under normal conditions, most of these plants, they are going to produce from one pollen mother cell 4 pollen grains they produce. Okay, now 1 pollen grain will produce 2 male gametes. 1 pollen grain will produce 2 male gametes. So how many male gametes can be produced here? See here, this will produce 2, this will produce 2, this will produce 2. Yes. So total 8 male gametes can be produced from 4 pollen grains. These 4 pollen grains are produced from single microspore mother cell. Keep it in mind. Single microspore mother cell or pollen mother cell produce 4 pollen grain. These 4 pollen grain on carrying mitotic division, 1 pollen grain 2 times mitotic division it will carry and produce 2 male gametes. So to form total 8 male gametes, how many mitotic division are required? 8 mitotic division are required. Remember, 8 mitotic division are required. See, 1 pollen grain, 2 times mitosis to form 2 male gametes. These are male gametes. Then still 3 pollen grain are there. So each pollen grain produces 2 male gametes. So total 8 male gametes. So this will carry out 2 mitotic division, this will carry out 2 mitotic division, this will carry out 2 mitotic division. So 2, 2, 2, 2. So total 8 mitotic division. Remember, to form 8 male gametes, from 1 pollen mother cell, 1 meiosis, keep it in mind, only 1 meiosis. And total how many mitotic division? 8 mitotic division are required. So these things you have to remember mainly for NEET point of view. On this you may expect NEET question. So very important, you try to remember Cyperaceae, that you keep it aside. Separately you have to remember, in Cyperaceae, 1 pollen mother cell will produce only 1 functional pollen grain, remaining 3 will degenerate. That is exception case. Remaining normal, these things you have to remember. Listen now. We have learnt the structure of the pollen grain, we have learnt the development of the male gametophyte, and how many pollen grains are produced on one meiosis from one microspore mother cell, how many male gametes are produced from single pollen grain, how many mitotic division are involved. All this we learnt clearly. I hope you have understood this. See, I told about the pollen grain structure. In insect pollinated flowers, insect pollinated pollen grains, entomophilous pollen grains, what we call entomophilous pollen grain. Outside the exine layer, on the outer side of the exine layer is the outermost layer. Okay, on the exine layer there is yellowish sticky mass called as pollen kit is present in the insect pollinated pollen grains. This pollen kit is produced by secretory tapetum or glandular tapetum, what we have learnt. So this pollen kit is made up of carotenoids, lipids. Okay, so this pollen kit is very useful. Why it is useful means, due to the presence of that sticky mass, these pollen grains will attach to the insect body. When the insect come and visit the flower, insects will visit the flower to suck the nectar, okay, to get the honey, to get pollen grains, whatever the reason. So when the insect visit the flower, due to the presence of this pollen kit, these pollen grains will adhere or attach onto the surface of the insects. When the same insects go and sit on another flower, it leads to the transfer of pollen grains. So that what we call pollination, okay, cross pollination mediated by insects. That usually we call it as entomophily. So this point you have to remember. Pollen kit, yellowish sticky mass present outside the exine in the insect pollinated pollen grains. Keep it in mind. Some extra information now. Smallest pollen grain is present in the plant Myosotis. Size 2.5 to 3.5 micron. Largest pollen grain we find in Mirabilis. size 250 micron. Longest or filamentous pollen grain. Longest or filamentous. Filamentous means long, flat, ribbon-like or hair-like. Okay. So this you will find in example. Zoster, marine aquatic plant, a marine hydrophyte, submerged hydrophyte. It has the longest pollen grain, 2500 micron. So this general information regarding the smallest pollen grain and largest, longest pollen grain, these things you remember. I told longest pollen tube is produced in maize. Pollen tube was discovered by G.B. Emeke in Portulaca, right? So these things you try to remember as extra information, right? So this is all about the structure of the anther, then the microspore, development of male gametophyte, all that. So moving on to the next concept. Now next concept, pollen allergy. You know about allergy, sensitive reaction of a person against a particular substance. Sensitive reaction of the immune system of a person against a particular substance is known as allergy. Different people will have different kind of allergy. So here, allergy caused by the pollen grains. See, plants, the flowers will release the pollen grain. These pollen grains can be released from the flowers of the plant in specific season. So when these pollen grains are released into the air, particularly when the human beings are inhaling the air which is mixed with such pollen grain, it can lead to pollen allergy. So pollen allergy can be seasonal. Sensitive reaction of a person immune system towards the pollen grains, that is pollen allergy. So this pollen allergy can be severe. It can be severe. It can cause chronic respiratory disorders. So particularly which kind of diseases can be caused due to this what you call pollen allergy? Asthma, bronchitis and rhinitis. So severe respiratory problems will come when the people inhale the air contaminated with these pollen grain, which can cause allergy. One example you take, carrot grass, scientific name Parthenium hysteroporus. Commonly we call it as Congress jhar. It is a weed. It is a weed, unwanted plant. Parthenium hysterophorus came into India as a contaminant in the wheat grains or wheat which we imported from other country. So when we imported wheat from other country, foreign country, as a contaminant, this Parthenium also came into India. It is a gregarious weed. It can spread rapidly in what I call open land, in the open wasteland. So this Parthenium can release the pollen grains from its inflorescence. It has head inflorescence. It will release these pollen grains. So that can cause severe pollen allergy in several people. So pollen allergy is mainly having respiratory disorders. It can be asthma. You know about asthma, bronchitis, bronchi. In the lungs you have bronchi. Okay. So rhinitis, that is running nose, all that. Right. So these respiratory problems can be caused due to what you call pollen allergy. You have a symptom called as hay fever. You have a symptom called as hay fever. Pollen allergy caused due to pollen grains present in the air. That we call it as hay fever. So it is pollen allergy caused due to the presence of pollen in air. Pollen allergy caused due to the presence of pollen grain in the air, that is called as hay fever. So this pollen allergy can be very severe, especially those patients with are asthmatic, okay, in especially winter season, all that. So they may have severe breathing problem, okay. So those people should be very careful regarding these pollen grains, all that. The common plants which can cause pollen allergy are in addition to Parthenium, Amaranthus, Chenopodium, grass, castor, okay, sorghum. Sorghum is jawar. So these are the plants, the pollen grain of these flowers can cause pollen allergy. Next, pollen products. First one in that, pollen food supplements. Remember, pollen grains are Pollen grains are rich in nutrients. Which are the nutrients? Proteins, carbohydrates and fats or lipids, mainly unsaturated fat. Unsaturated fats. So these pollen grains can be used as food supplement. See what normally food we take. In addition to that food, additional nutrient rich items that can be food supplement, rich in specific nutrients of the diet. So here in the recent years, consumption of the pollen product has become popular all over the world. Especially in Western countries, consumption of the pollen product as a food supplement has become very popular. It can increase vital body functions. So here pollen tablet and pollen syrup. These are the food supplements, pollen products. Pollen tablet, pollen grains are used in making pollen tablet or pollen syrup, which are the rich in these nutrients. Okay, so it is used as a food supplement. So especially in Western country, consumption of the pollen food supplement is very common. It is very popular. So consumption of pollen food product, pollen food supplement is believed to enhance, to increase in Western countries, consumption of the pollen product in the form of pollen tablet and pollen syrup is very popular. Okay, these are going to increase vital body functions. When we consume these pollen food supplement, they will increase the vital body functions. Okay, so it is believed that consumption of pollen tablet, pollen syrup will increase, enhance the performance of athletes, runners and the race horses. So that is how we can use the pollen grain, which are nutrient rich, as food supplement. Next, pollen cream. As I told you, pollen grains are rich in unsaturated fats. Pollen grains are rich in unsaturated fats, which these protect the pollen grain from UV rays. So pollen grains are rich in unsaturated fats which protect the pollen grain from harmful rays coming from the sun. That's why these pollen grains are used in making pollen grains are used in making cream, skin cream, emulsion, other cosmetic product, sunscreen lotion. Many people who are sensitive to this bright sunshine, they apply different grade sunscreen lotions that prevent tanning of the skin. So in such sunscreen lotion, okay, sunscreen creams, right, other cosmetic products, these pollen grains are used. Why they are used? To provide smoothness and protection to the skin. So this is how the pollen grains can be useful in the preparation of the pollen cream. So pollen as food supplement and pollen cream. So these comes under pollen products. So remember, this is very important for 2 mark. Pollen product 2 mark. Pollen allergy, which I told already, that will also be asked for 2 marks. Next, pollen viability. The flowers containing the anthers, on maturity, they burst the pollen grain, they discharge, they release the pollen grain. So these pollen grains have to be carried to the stigma of the flower. How long these pollen grains can be functional? That is very important, because pollen grain should germinate, should form the pollen tube, and that pollen tube will carry the male gamete that can help in fertilization process. So after the release of the pollen grains from the anther, how long these pollen grain remain functional, viable, means they are able to germinate to produce pollen tube. That time duration what we have, okay, that we call it a pollen viability. Definition: the period for which a pollen grain remains functional, or what you can define, the period for which a pollen grain is capable of germinating is known as pollen viability. So the period for which a pollen grain is capable of germinating, it has the power of germination, that time duration period is known as pollen viability. Suppose after the pollination, pollen grain will lose their viability, means ability to germinate on the stigma. If they don't germinate, then there is no fertilization. So before they lose their viability, before they lose their capacity or property to germinate, by that time fertilization should occur. Then only it can be very useful. Otherwise, it is meaningless. So that's why some plants are having a shorter pollen viability. Some plant pollen grains are having longer pollen viability. cereals like wheat, rice, shorter pollen viability. How much? 30 minutes. The pollen viability of these cereals like wheat, rice, just 30 minutes. After 30 minutes, they may lose their property of germinating. They may become non-functional. If they become non-functional, then there will not be any fertilization. So, the pollen grains which have shorter pollen viability period, there the best chance is self-pollination. There, self-pollination is the best chance factor which can lead to fertilization of that, because it can be a bisexual flower where anther and stigma can mature at the same time. The distance, if this is the anther, if this is the stigma, the distance travelled by the pollen grain to fall on the stigma is very less. Easily the pollen grain can reach on the stigma. It is very useful when shorter pollen viability is there. Some of the family members, take for example, Rosaceae, rose family, Fabaceae, which is a subfamily in Leguminosae, okay, Fabaceae, pulse family, pea family we have learned, then Solanaceae, brinjal family. So the members of these family pollen grains are having longer pollen viability. The flower pollen grains of these plants, okay, they have longer pollen viability of several months. Pollen viability will be there. See, pollen grains can be stored in liquid nitrogen. Pollen grains can be stored in liquid nitrogen at minus 196 degrees centigrade. So you can preserve for longer time. It may not lose pollen viability. Pollen grain can retain the power of germination even if they are stored for several years. That is the advantage of this method, where in minus degree Celsius we are storing the pollen grain. So it is cryopreservation. It is cryopreservation. Pollen grains do not lose their viability even after storing them for several years in liquid nitrogen. So this kind of storage of pollen grain, we call it as pollen bank. See, we have seed bank where quality seeds can be stored so that can be used for cultivation purpose. We have blood bank, we have sperm bank, human sperm bank, animal sperm bank, okay, animal sperm bank which is used mainly in artificial insemination, all that, right? Similarly, we need quality pollen grains. So such quality pollen grains can be cryopreserved in liquid nitrogen and it can be used as pollen bank whenever we need pollen grain. So quality pollen grains can be provided to the farmers so that they can carry out what we call artificial hybridization, which is one of the important technique in plant breeding program. So these pollen grains which are preserved in what we call a pollen bank can be used for crop breeding whenever it is required. We can use for crop breeding whenever it is required. Okay, so this is about the overall the male reproductive oral. We learnt about the stamen, we learnt about microsporangium, then we learnt about pollen grain, right? So male reproductive oral and its associated structures, all that we have discussed. Now we will move on to female reproductive oral. Remember pollen viability, 1 mark definition they can ask, otherwise 2 mark. Then you have to remember these examples, very important for NEET point of view. These examples which I have given, very important for NEET point of view. 2 mark in theory, they may ask, only definition 1 mark. So the next part now we have pistil, megasporangium, which is also known as ovule, then embryosac, which is also called as female gametophyte. So one by one we will discuss. So you know the 4th oral of the flower, the female reproductive oral of the flower, that is called as pistil or gynoecium. That is the female reproductive oral of the flower, innermost oral of the flower. So this oral is made up of structural units. Structural units usually what we call carpels. Carpels. Carpel has 3 parts. So carpel has 3 parts, that is ovary, style and stigma. These are the 3 parts of the carpel. Carpel present in the gynoecium, their number is variable. Number of carpels is variable in a pistil. When pistil is made up of single carpel, it is called as monocarpellary. two carpels are there, bicarpellary. If three carpels are there, tricarpellary. If five carpels are there, pentacarpellary. When more than five carpels are there, when more than five carpels are there in a pistil or gynoecium, then it is polycarpellary, or what you call it, multicarpellary. Multicarpellary. So the number of carpels in a gynoecium or pistil is variable. Monocarpellary, bicarpellary, tricarpellary, even you have tetracarpellary also, where four carpels will be there. Okay, then pentacarpellary. Monocarpellary, you have examples, Fabaceae family, P, B, and all that. Okay, bicarpellary, Solanaceae family, brinjal, tomato, all that. Tricarpellary, onion family we have learned Liliaceae. Okay, pentacarpellary, best example, that is Hibiscus steinerose. Polycarpellary, you have Michaelia, Magnolia, okay, papaver. So many examples are there. So these are the number of the carpels present in a pistil, right? So I will stop here. I will continue in the next class. So probably tomorrow zoology lecture series will start. They will start the zoology syllabus tomorrow.